Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the campaign show. I am your host, Patrick Howley. I hope that you are having a great week. I do. If you're watching this show, you're awesome. You're one of us. Unless you're watching the show for Media Matters or something, writing down, the little clips with their little pencils. You're not one of us if you're one of those viewers. But, everyone else, great to see you. Great to see you. You look great. You feel great. You can catch me on the Stu Peters Show, actually, today. It airs at 6 p.m. Eastern Time over on his Rumble. And I'm going after Con Inc., talking about how I've been totally vindicated on the Ashley Biden diary, the daddy-daughter showers, the Ashley Biden diary, which I broke. Well, ladies and gentlemen, pray for our friends. Pray for our enemies, because our enemies are going to need it, frankly.
Not after we're done with them.
Our enemies are going to need it. And ladies and gentlemen, the Democrats, this is something that's actually hilarious to see, tragic in some ways, but also hilarious, which is that they are now really concerned about the illegal migrant invasion that's flooding into the country, including into New York City. New York City Mayor Eric Adams, we have shown some of his highlights here on the show. We have shown, a nice old lady asking him about the high rent, and he replies that he's not on her plantation. She's not a plantation owner. I am not on your plantation. Like, he was ready to snap. We've shown the clip where he made, I guess, either the joke or the admission that he has sex with homeless people in response to a heckler, right? So this guy has really been on quite the run.
Owned, annihilated.
But Eric Adams is, he's very concerned about the migrants flooding into New York City. Let's see what he had to say.
Eventually, this was going to come to a neighborhood near you. Having someone embedded is a good start. That came from the Secretary of Homeland Security. We want to thank him. But I've been very clear on what we need. We need to control the border. We need to call a state of emergency, and we need to properly fund this national crisis.
National crisis? Wait a second. So the Democrats, weren't you all the ones saying, oh, it's all one world, open up the borders, hey, Dikembe, hey, Sanjay, want to play some hacky sack? Let's just vibe out on Grateful Dead music. It's going to be like the 60s. We're going to play hacky sack with the migrants, and they're all just going to open ethnic cuisine in Brooklyn. They're all just going to make wonderful food, right? All of the Rachel Maddow box wine ladies, they're going to make wonderful food. I'm going to be tough on them on the Yelp reviews, but they're going to bring their ethnic cuisine to Brooklyn, and it's just going to be magical. And these white supremacist conspiracy theorists just need to shut their mouths, okay? Because Whoopi Goldberg told me this is all going to be fine. Right? Now, you have the Democrat mayor of New York City being like, batten down the hatches. This is an invasion. Where is the president? So it's almost as though people like me knew what I was talking about. When it comes to you can't have open borders, you can't have the entire third world, or many of them, flooding into the United States of America and hope to maintain societal order. Doesn't work that way. And I think America is realizing that now. You have Kamala Harris, very, very low approval ratings. Very, very low approval ratings going on with Kamala Harris. She is supposedly the vice president of the United States, so they claim, right, for this creepy Joe Biden person. Kamala Harris, previously a girlfriend of Willie Brown. Honestly, I think Willie treated her better than Biden is treating her. I do. She was doing okay under Willie. Roger Stone, who I love, my friend Roger Stone. I've known him. I've been privileged to know Roger Stone for many years. Roger Stone said that Kamala Harris, would be very active in trying to get votes for a certain politician that she wanted to whip votes for and would go the extra mile. You'd have to ask Roger what he meant by that. But Kamala Harris, ladies and gentlemen, here she is, responding to the fact that people really don't like her.
There are reports that say that you have the lowest approval rating of any vice president. I'm curious how much of a role, if any, that you feel race and gender play in that.
Well, there are polls that also say I have great approval ratings. I think the point that has to be made is that
I'd love to see them.
There are attempts to create distractions away from the accomplishments of our administration.
No, your approvals, Lou.
she with the that was a moment. Oh yeah, I got my own polls, right? So just kind of like a childlike response, really, from Kamala, of sort of instead of saying, hey, sorry for ruining America. Sorry for being part of this disastrous regime that's just ruining the country, making everyone's lives worse. Instead of owning up to that, instead of having personal responsibility, for her own actions. Here, Kamala is just being like, no, there's other polls saying I'm great. And, it's that sort of schoolyard kind of mentality. I think President Donald Trump, honestly, has proven himself to be way better at the schoolyard insults and what. So if Kamala wants to play that game. Speaking of elementary school logic, the ladies on The View have been very distressed by the fact that Kamala Harris has low approval ratings. Let's see what the ladies on The View had to say.
Feel like she hasn't broken through on major policy accomplishments. And she will, fairly or unfairly, be the most scrutinized vice president in history because she's running with the oldest president running for president.
And she's also a
Go
black
off,
woman.
Queen.
But I think you have to be able to fairly critique the vice president of the United States without just saying it's the color of their skin or the fact she's a woman.
But it is part of it.
What makes you say that?
Well, we're in the United States of America.
But with someone like me saying it, do you think I could have a
She gets an applause break.
It's not you. It's just we're in the United States of America, and black
least
women.
do a trick first.
And this is just not me saying it. I mean, there have been studies. Black women are considered less articulate. They are considered uglier. They are considered all of these things
beautiful,
by this country, and it's because of the history, of course, of misogyny and
But it's also
sexism.
just women. I mean, Jerry Ferraro back in the day ran for vice president, and they went after her too.
And that's the misogyny part. But when you mix
In fact,
the
Barbara
misogyny
Bush
and
called
the
her a name.
racism,
I'm sorry.
it's extra. It's a little extra.
As the pundits would say, a lot to unpack there. But so those are some of the reasons why the View ladies feel that Kamala Harris really isn't resonating with the Americans. I would say more that it's like she's a ridiculous moron who's part of steering the ship into the ocean, like a Titanic kind of scenario for the country. And everybody's just sort of like getting on lifeboats like, oh my goodness, huge crisis. What is the Biden-Harris regime doing to us? But she sort of has this persona that she's crafted, okay? And keep in mind, she was a prosecutor and just very much a part of the establishment, part of the man. But she has this persona, like she wears Converse sneakers, okay? Because she plays up, her African-American heritage. So she decides to dress like an African-American person from the early 1960s, with the Converse, with the Chucks, right? And that's that. But she's really plugged into the culture. She really is. And there's been a dispute about her rap knowledge. She's tried to weigh in on rap a little bit, and that didn't work out too well for her. And also, it's very interesting. She sort of she taps into this idea that the young people are not doing well, which of course is true. That's a big concern. But instead of saying like, oh, hey, it's because of predatory lending, it's because of the rigging and financial manipulation that's going on in the economy, it's because of the horrible policies of Joe Biden, who was previously known as the senator from MBNA, meaning the credit card company that was later absorbed into Bank of America, which Hunter Biden worked for in Delaware, which has really made it a lot worse. Joe Biden has really made it a lot worse, a lot harder to file for bankruptcy and whatnot. And so because of all of these terrible decisions made by the politicians, things are worse. But Kamala Harris says young people aren't really optimistic about the future because of climate change. Climate change. She was so close. And then
I almost had it.
Climate change. All right, let's take a look.
So you look at, for example, young voters. I've been traveling the country meeting with our young leaders who in particular are talking to me about the climate crisis. They turned me on to a term I had not heard before. I said, tell me how you all are thinking about the climate crisis. And they shared with me a term, climate anxiety. They're concerned about their future in almost a doomsday fear about what might be within a couple of decades of now. They're concerned about whether they should have children, whether they should even try to buy a home, because what does the future hold for that prospect?
Because of climate anxiety, or because the economy is ruined in part because of you?
Climate anxiety. Who could have come up with that?
Climate anxiety. Now, did you know that Kamala Harris's father, Donald Harris, and the New York Times even mentioned this? I was very active in promoting this information at one time. The Stanford Daily reported in 1976 that Donald Harris, father of Kamala Harris, okay, so she's half Indian and half Jamaican, and on the Jamaican side, her father is Donald Harris, and Donald Harris was described by the Stanford Daily as a Marxist scholar in some reporting on how some people were against Donald Harris getting tenure at Stanford. Okay, now that is a fact. And Kamala Harris, ladies and gentlemen, what I'm about to show you is probably one of the most hilarious and underreported stories, and very disturbing stories as well, ever in the history of the internet. You may not know this. Kamala Harris's aide in California was actually arrested at one time for being part of a secret Masonic police that evidently believed that it had some kind of police power, and so he was accused of impersonating a police officer. Let's take a look at Kamala's link to the Masonic police.
3 suspects in California are accused of running a fake police department and put under arrest. One of the suspects even works for California Attorney General Kamala Harris. I'm 48 Hours Crime Insider's Michelle Sagona.
Wow.
The ruse began in January when the San Diego Sheriff's Office says various police chiefs in Southern California began to receive letters from the Masonic Fraternal Police Department. The letter said specifically that David Henry was now the chief and he was requesting a meeting with each agency. According to a press release, Captain Roosevelt Johnson of the Santa Clarita Valley Sheriff's Office actually accepted a meeting with Henry, Tonette Hayes, and Brandon Keel. They showed up dressed in uniforms and said they were
What you gonna do when they come for you?
All 3
You
were
heard of the
arrested
Santa Clarita Diet?
and now charged with
No, but I wish I
impersonating
have.
a peace
Look that up.
officer. The group claims to have jurisdiction in 33 states and in Mexico. They allegedly believe they're descendants
And
of the
Mexico?
Knights Templar and that their
Well,
group
they
was
gotta have
founded
Mexico in
3,000
there.
years ago. But medieval scholars say their claims are incorrect.
There
and
you
that
go.
The Knights Templar was founded during the 12th century Crusades in Jerusalem. Their mission was to protect pilgrims visiting the Holy City, and they answered to the Pope. Some historians speculate that they were tasked with finding precious religious relics during
All
the
right.
war.
Pull over, mi amigo. We come from California, of all places. We were for Senator Harris.
This is all very odd. This is all very odd. So you got the Masonic police there. Okay, you have the father, who is described as a Marxist scholar, who was at Stanford. You have now on Kamala's mother's side, she is reportedly her family is high caste Brahmin. Okay, very high caste in India. And they have been accused of all kinds of, stuff where they're not so nice to the lower castes, right? A little bit of elitism going on that is sort of embedded into the political and sociocultural structure of India. So Kamala Harris, she comes over here. She even plagiarized Martin Luther King Jr. So she's the daughter of, this immigrant woman, I suppose. And, Kamala Harris, really desperate to try to be part of the African-American experience here. She even ripped off a Martin Luther King story. Martin Luther King had some story where some little girl who was actually part of the civil rights movement, according to his tale, said something along the lines of what do you want? The girl said, I want freedom. Freedom. Kamala Harris stole that story, evidently, and claimed that she was a girl who wanted freedom when she was a kid going to protests. So when you're plagiarizing Martin Luther King Jr., who himself was accused of plagiarism, Joe Biden also has been accused of plagiarism pretty brazenly. So who is writing the progressive agenda? Is it David Brock? Is it David Brock still, kind of scripting these talking points? But anyway, you can imagine how Kamala Harris is using her mother's story to paint herself as some kind of trailblazer for civil rights in America. Let's take a look at this insufferable cringe.
To the woman most responsible for my presence here today, my mother, Kamala Gopalan Harris, who is always in our hearts.
Mom's responsible for your presence.
When she came here from India at the age of 19, she maybe didn't quite imagine this moment. But she believed so deeply in an America where a moment like this is possible. And so I am thinking about her and about the generations of women, black women, Asian, white, Latina, Native American women, who throughout our nation's history have paved the way for this moment. Women who fought and sacrificed so much for equality and liberty and justice for all, including the black women who are too often overlooked, but so often prove they are the backbone of our democracy. All the women who have worked to secure and protect the right to vote for over a century, 100 years ago with the 19th Amendment, 55 years ago with the Voting Rights Act, and continued the fight for their fundamental right to vote and be heard. I reflect on their struggle, their determination, and the strength of their vision to see what can be unburdened by what has been. And I stand on their shoulders.
Oh, that was so much cringe. So much cringe. So she stands on the shoulders of, the civil rights pioneers. But wait a second. She didn't mention Uncle Gopalan. Have you heard of Uncle Gopalan?
No, who's that?
So Uncle Gopalan is Kamala Harris's uncle, okay, on the high caste Brahmin Indian side. Uncle Gopalan is one of India's top nuclear experts, okay, when it comes to nuclear defense. And he has worked for this entity that is linked to the defense capabilities of the government of India. He's one of their top guys on the nuclear stuff for the country of India. And Uncle Gopalan actually says, wait a second, when Kamala got vice president, got elected quote unquote elected, now, we all remember that one being stolen. But when they installed her, as the vice president, Uncle Gopalan was saying in 2024, Kamala could be the president of the United States and was going to be the president. So that was his prediction. So here is Uncle Gopalan. Not a lot of people know about Uncle Gopalan. Here's what he had to say.
And I said, do what you've been doing well. What am I to tell you? You've been doing everything okay anyway. So what can I tell you? Well, you can keep that in mind and continue doing it. That's what I'll tell her. That's what her mother would also tell her. So we are all in different
Where's Edward Zoll when you need him?
So we'll all meet in Washington in January for the swearing in. Then we'll celebrate. Right now I'll just might have a sweet and wine, that's all. Kamala will tell you, if you like Kamala, be like her. Don't go on and hide behind your mother. Go in front and say, and don't be shy. Don't fight with anybody. Obama was the first Afro-American male who was a president. Now you got the first female Afro-American, Asian-American woman as a vice president. Have I told somebody?
Unclear about the African-American, but...
If you go by historical roots, in 2024, she is the first female Afro-American, Asian-American president.
What does Gopalan know?
How US looks at India will not change much. They know that. They're already very
Does that take medicine to get rid of?
How India looks at US is a different matter. Already a lot of people are looking at Kamala. Why is she saying this and why is she saying that? American Indian children.
Yeah, I do ask. Why is she saying that?
Who earlier were interested in, this annual, what they call...
Here we go. The spelling bee contest.
The spelling bee contest.
Yeah.
Indians used to always win.
Indians used to always win. Now they will be interested in U.S. politics, and they will do something, according to Uncle Gopalan. So that's why Kamala's win, he thinks, are going to energize a lot of American Indians in America. So they've gone from the Scripps Howard spelling bee, okay, to positions of power. Uncle Gopalan is very enthused. It's not just the spelling bees anymore, says Uncle Gopalan. And in that way, Kamala Harris's ridiculous fake vice presidency is going to inspire a lot of people. I don't think it's inspiring. The thing is, if Jackie Robinson had not been good, probably wouldn't have been too good for everyone, right? Kamala, all right, she may be a lot of these firsts, but she's terrible, absolutely awful. So it's kind of like, the media wants to say, oh, it's the sexism and whatnot, and all these internet hosts with their snide comments with the misogyny. I don't know. I think it's probably due to her own terrible performance and her contribution to the ruining of America. Hopefully, we're going to restore America, and we're going to have a lot more on the Masons, and we're going to be talking about Kamala and her link to that Masonic police force. Quite interesting, ladies and gentlemen. Well, you know what you can do if you want to help me out? Buy a gun holster from Vanish Gun Holsters, vnsh.com/Patrick. And guess what? It's usually $130. This is a great holster. I'm taking $50 off. I'm selling it to you for $80. If you're in the market for a gun holster, buy one from me. Here it is. This problem with uncomfortable holsters. If you have an uncomfortable holster and you don't use it, then your quest to defend yourself or others fails right out of the gate. That's why Vanish holsters are quickly becoming one of the most popular holsters in America. Thousands of customers say that it's the most comfortable holster ever, and when you get one, you'll never stop carrying. This holster also saves you money. That's because it fits 99% of all semi-auto handguns, works without a tactical belt, lets you carry in multiple positions, and it carries 2 fully loaded magazines. And best of all is that because you're a viewer of the campaign show, you can get it for $50 off. Just go to vnsh.com/Patrick to see if your gun will work with it and to activate your discount today. It's normally $130. Since you watch the campaign show, you will get a $50 discount at vnsh.com/Patrick. Good content, man. Good content. Well, thank you all so much. You can go to instagram.com/the.campaignshow. Our producer, Aaron, will have all kinds of good highlights.
Yes, he will.
Aaron brings the Gen Y perspective to the show, and don't you think that, I mean, he's gaining real-world experience. Don't you think that this is better than college?
Oh, definitely. This beats any kind of professor. This beats any kind of, minus the college girls, but I'm kidding.
Would you rather have, like, some morbidly obese, masked, pink-haired woman up in your face being like, you have white privilege. Get out of my safe space, and pay for the privilege of, interacting with her at a college.
Will she let me play with her cat? Will she let me do that by any chance?
Well, no, the cats aren't usually friendly with these ladies. They're just lying in wait. Really, they're not too happy about the deal that they get with these cat ladies. But I think you've made the right choice to get some real world experience there, and ultimately. We'll see if you do well in the long run. I don't know. It's kind of flip a coin, but you're out there. You're trying, baby. You're trying. We're all out there. Put forth your best effort and help others and help yourself too.
Go live the American dream.
Gotta look out for number one too, baby. It's the American dream. Horatio Alger, as Hunter S. Thompson said. And we love you all. God bless you. I'll see you tomorrow on the campaign show.